In celebration of the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States, we are sharing some sites this year that are significant places in the history of our nation, in addition to our other travels. In this video, we find ourselves in Virginia, at the Great Bridge Battlefield and Waterways Park. We are on our way into the Visitor Center to learn about this early battle between Virginia colonists and the British Redcoats. This battlefield was in Norfolk County at the time of the battle, but it's located in modern-day Chesapeake, Virginia. That city is adjacent to both Virginia Beach and Norfolk. The museum in the Visitor Center starts with exhibits about everyday lives of colonists in this area, leading up to the start of the Revolutionary War in 1775. There are some artifacts from colonial life that you can check out. This is also where we met up with the museum's docent, who was very helpful to guests. He introduced himself to us and walked around answering any questions visitors had, and added extra context to the information on display. Next up was a timeline room showing what led up to the battle that we're here to tell you about. As the run-up to the war took place, Virginians had mixed feelings about joining the war. Many were convinced to join the Revolutionary Patriot cause after Patrick Henry's famous "Give me liberty or give me death" speech at a church in Richmond, Virginia. The enthusiasm for the Revolution led the British Loyalist governor of Virginia to have British troops raid the stores of gunpowder in Williamsburg to make sure the Patriots weren't able to use that gunpowder against British troops. It goes as you can imagine from there. Each side takes turns escalating the situation until battle seemed inevitable. The governor, Lord Dunmore, learned there were about 300 Patriot troops encamped near Great Bridge, just down the road from the fort where he and about 600 British troops were encamped. He decided to attack while his troops still outnumbered the Patriots before they could receive reinforcements. But the information he received was a lie. There were more than 900 Patriots in the encampment. So, based on false information, Lord Dunmore led his troops into a fight, not knowing that they were the ones who were outnumbered. The museum shows you a recreation of the British Redcoat uniform, as well as a recreation of the cannons they had. The Patriots didn't have any working cannons in the area at this time. There were actual weapons from that time, some of which were actually known to be used in the Revolutionary War, and others that were just weapons from the time period, and we don't know much about where they were used. They also have examples of the Patriot militia uniforms, which look like sewn together rags at the time.
The next room features an 8-minute video depicting the battle. This was very creatively presented, as the screen on one side of the room featured the advance of the Redcoats. Then when you turned to the other side of the room, you saw a projection featuring the movements of the Patriots. At dawn on December 9th, 1775, elite British grenadiers led the troops in crossing the Great Bridge and proceeding down the Great Road towards the Patriot camp. Included in this presentation is the story of Billy Flora, a free black man who fought with the Patriots. He was keeping watch as the British marched towards the area where the Patriots were encamped. He pulled up some boards from the bridges and walkways to slow the British advancement, as the other Patriot guards ran back to sound the alarm at the encampment that the British were on their way. Flora ends up firing on the British all by himself to try to slow them down further, and to raise the alarm to all of the encamped troops down the road that fighting was breaking out. The British shot back at Flora and, miraculously, All of them missed him. The actions of Flora bought the Patriots time to prepare for the British troops. The battlefield was located on swampy marshland at the time. The road towards the Patriots went along a causeway, a raised road made of built-up earth through wet, low-lying lands. The British marched in rows of 6 troops, shoulder to shoulder, along the narrow, raised-up road with swampland on both sides of them. The narrow width of the causeway limited the British options for movement and attack. Patriots were hiding behind earthworks on the other side of the causeway, waiting for the British to get close. Once they were close, the Patriots jumped up from their hiding places and began firing. In less than half an hour, the remaining British retreated. Over 100 British troops had been killed, wounded, or captured. Only one Virginia militia member was injured, having been shot in the hand. Outside the visitor center is an exhibit showing guests a recreation of the causeway. This really gave us a clear idea of how narrow the walkway was, which trapped oncoming troops between the entrenched colonists firing on them at one end, rows of marching troops behind them, and the swamp on both sides. Also outside on the battlefield walkway, there's signage talking about Fort Murray, where the British troops had been holed up. That fort was in the general area of what is today a children's hospital thrift store. There were 7 or 8 other signs about various aspects of the battle as well. There are small monuments to the leaders of the militias that participated in the battle, as well as one monument honoring the service of a Nansemond tribe Native American who fought alongside the Patriots. And there is a large stone monument honoring all those who served in the militias that turned away the British at Great Bridge. This monument was installed by the Daughters of the American Revolution. The cement around the monument lists the nearby cities and towns that the militiamen who fought that day were from. Back in the visitor center, there's more to read about the details of the aftermath of the battle. But in summary, fighting continued in Norfolk, which was a British loyalist stronghold in the coming months. But eventually, the city of Norfolk was burned to the ground, and Lord Dunmore and his troops fled to New York. Dunmore never returned to Virginia.
If you visit this historic battlefield site, there is a lot more to see, both outdoors and in the visitor center. There are 2 outdoor trails in addition to the quarter-mile battlefield trail with the historic signage and monuments. There's a marsh overlook trail that leads along a boardwalk to a viewing tower where you can see an unobstructed view of the marshlands in an area where they largely look the way they did back at the time of the battle in 1775. There is also a waterway trail that goes along a canal, which was dredged to a depth of 12 feet to be a part of the Atlantic Intracoastal Waterway. If you're not familiar with the Intracoastal Waterway, it is a 3,000-mile, mostly protected waterway that runs the length of the East Coast. From here, where we filmed in Virginia, you can sail all the way down to Key West, Florida, and then along the Gulf Coast without ever having to sail out in the open ocean. Or you can head north and go all the way up to Canada. We've talked to people who have taken a month or two off work and sailed the entire coast, and they highly recommend the experience. This section of the canal by the battlefield has a drawbridge today that lifts several times a day to let tall boats that are sailing the Intracoastal Waterway through. The docent of the Battlefield Museum told us that the actual historic causeway where the fighting took place would have been about where this bridge is today. Before the land was dredged up to create the canal, it was marshy swampland, just like the other marshland you can see along the park's trails. The museum in the Visitor Center includes exhibits with information about the Intracoastal Waterway, including the original operator's control panel for the current drawbridge. The panel was replaced a few years ago with digital controls, and this control panel was donated to the museum. While the current bridge is located where much of the battle took place, it's not where the original Great Bridge of the battle was located. That is further down the road and is marked with a sign. A bar and grill sits on the land about where the 1775 bridge would have been. In the museum, you can see this model of what the historic bridge probably looked like. There are also exhibits about the Great Dismal Swamp, covering parts of Virginia and North Carolina. It's the largest remaining swamp in the eastern United States, and this swampy marshland was once considered a part of the swampland before much of it was filled in so a modern city could be built here. You can also read about the history of the canal that was dredged along this land and the history of the area's waterways and how it affected the land and those who lived on it. Like all good museums and battlefields, the experience ends in a gift shop. Currently, the Great Bridge Battlefield and Waterways Park Visitor Center is open Tuesdays through Sundays. Check the website for the latest hours of operation. General admission tickets are $8 with discounts for kids, seniors, and military members. This is a great place to learn a bit about a little-known chapter of Revolutionary history. Click the links at the end of this video to check out other spots featuring Virginia's history in the Revolutionary War. And be sure to click the subscribe button and the notification bell so we can see you the next time we're traveling through.